This training will cover some of the basic concepts for marketing ancillary programs to medical practices, including some tips and best practices used by top representatives in the industry. Most people working in the ancillary sector do so as an independent contractor, which means you probably dream of making those insanely high paychecks you've heard about. It all starts with planning. So who do you target? Remember, time is money. The toughest part of selling ancillaries is the ramp-up period. It's important to get something going so a regular source of pay kicks in as you build toward the higher paying programs. This means, for those who have existing relationships, you should start with those. If you are new to the territory that you're calling on, pick a program or a small group of programs and a target market. For instance, you might target podiatrists who could be interested in nail fungus testing, pharmacy, be it specialty pharmacy or a dispensing model, ANS equipment, or PCR testing. This will shorten your learning curve and allow you to focus your efforts into an effective game plan that you can stick with. Finding leads is easy. Doctors are not hiding their businesses. The vast majority will show up in a simple Google search of a particular area. There are also websites like HealthGrades, which have a pretty comprehensive list of practices. As you determine which programs to focus on, try to sell what you believe in. Reps with a passion for a particular program always enjoy the most success. For instance, maybe cancer has affected a loved one, so genetic cancer screening is of personal interest to you. If that's the case, become an expert. Doctors love having engaging conversations. However, they expect you to know your programs. The more you can show that you're a reliable source of useful information, the more likely they are to work with you. This also ties into looking the part. You only get one chance to make a first impression. There are so few moments that you get to be in front of the decision maker, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. You want to look like someone that they want to do business with. That attention to detail starts with yourself. Gather information. See what they're currently offering. You can go to their website or talk to other people who are familiar with the practice. What programs could complement what they're currently offering their patients? Top pharmaceutical companies train their reps in what they call the total office call. The meaning is self-evident. A medical practice functions as a team, and while the physician may be the leader of that team, it's important to understand the impact of your program on the different members of the staff. Is this going to create more work for the biller, the medical assistants? This will allow you to build allies from within the office. A good sales pitch starts with asking good questions. Think about the specific challenges of each practice. Have one good question to ask. You can also think about using spin selling techniques. If you're unfamiliar with spin selling, SPIN stands for the 4 types of questions successful salespeople ask their customers: situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. It works from the theory that relationship selling is customer-centric. It requires you to adapt your selling process to your customer and delivers personal solutions. So let's look at the situational questions using the CleanAssure panel as our example. Doctor, what is your current method for reconciling your patient's medications? Well, I do a brown bag check. I have them bring in their prescription bottles and ask the patient how often they've been taking the medications. Now we get into the P questions, identifying a problem. Doc, do you ever have patients who forget or omit medications that they may be taking, or don't tell you about over-the-counter or illicit drugs that they may be taking? Yes, of course. Now we get to the implication questions. Doctor, I hear that from physicians across specialties. Do you think that this might be one of the contributing factors why there are over 2 million hospitalizations each year due to adverse drug reaction? Yes, I suppose, especially for those patients with multiple chronic conditions who may be on a host of medications. Now we get to the need payoff. So doctor, it sounds like you need a more objective tool to see what is currently in the patient's system. I want to show you a new tool that does exactly that. The close should be part of the conversation. It should naturally flow to the conclusion, which is an answer to the problem which they've identified for themselves. Other good ways to close is to ask questions like, where would you see yourself using something like this in your practice? Do you see any benefits to your patients by being able to identify X? Doctor, you mentioned that you're running cancer screens through LabCorp. I know their cancer panel is limited to 12 genes, which leaves off a lot of cancers. Do you see any benefits to your patients by offering a more comprehensive panel? Remember, doctors don't like to be told what to do. You are giving them options. Doc, all I'm doing is providing you with a tool. It's an option that you have available for your patients. Preparing for objections is one of the other habits that top reps in this sector share. Which competitors might they be using? How do you compare? What if they say they want to put it off until next year? Maybe the program has insurance limitations. The more you can think about potential objections and prepare for them, the better. Top reps in this sector also have a follow-up plan. Sometimes deals go through quickly, and sometimes you're inching that boulder up the hill. Regardless, a top rep has a plan for how they're going to progress that office to a close, however incremental that progress might be. They understand that persistence is the key to success. 80% of sales are made after the 5th sales call. One of the more frustrating aspects to working in this sector is that doctors don't always do what they promise. Remember, a deal is not closed until it's utilized. Check out our other video on ancillary pull-through strategies if you want some tips on how to maximize each contract. Keep good notes on each client. Typically, a top rep will grab a business card in each office that they visit and jot down notes on the back of it, then log those notes into a CRM system like HubSpot or Zoho. Spending that extra time planning your calls and keeping detailed notes will make you much more efficient and ultimately save you time in the long run. Just a few final thoughts to keep in mind. Don't be afraid to ask for referrals from other doctors. If they're truly finding value in what you're offering, they'll be happy to share with their colleagues. Find allies in the field. Look for people who are selling other things to the practice, like pharmaceuticals. Sometimes these people can unlock doors for you with other practices. Finally, anticipate rejection and know that it's part of the job. For more in-depth ancillary sales training, be sure to check out our other videos on gatekeeper strategies and pull-through techniques. If you would like to explore medical ancillary programs to complement your existing sales portfolio, you can register at everyancillary.com. There you will find training videos and other resources on dozens of other medical ancillaries, and you can connect directly to ancillary vendors. Be sure to follow us on Twitter to stay on top of all the latest developments in the medical ancillary sector. Our Twitter handle is @everyancillary. You can also subscribe to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast and Medical Practice Trends Podcast to hear interviews and expert tips. Links to each of these are provided in this video's description.